just wait for that plane to go over. We may as well.
Yeah. That's the
Helicopter.
hospital helicopter now. What if we were to write a book called Shall I Give Up My Day Job and Be a something? Because I was thinking about this, and the people that I work with, people who are part of the Enthusiasm Patreon or come here to spend a week learning how to make perfume, and some of them are thinking of giving up the day job and becoming perfumers. My favourite book title still is, I was sitting next to somebody once at a focus group thing, and he said he would like to write a book called How to Make $1 Million Without Being a Complete Shit, which I thought was quite nice. So I am not going to give up anything to be an artist, that's for certain. So I'm going to put the paintbrush down and I'm going to turn off the...
You are an artist, Sarah.
Everyone's an artist, Arthur. Yeah, but I'm not going to paint for a living. That's what I'm not going to do. And I'm strongly tempted lots of time, not because I don't want the competition, but because people don't do the maths that it takes to work out how much they need to pay the bills lots of time. And they don't realise how many bottles of something they would need to sell in order to be able to pay the bills, and if they have worked out that they would need to, sell, maybe they get away with like 5 bottles a day if they charge the right amount of money for it. But how much investment will they have to make in all of the things they needed to do in order to sell 5 bottles a day? How much money would it take to pay off the amount they've borrowed from somewhere or spent from somewhere in order to get to the point where they can sell 5 bottles a day? So a lot of the time I find myself discouraging people from giving up the day job. And sometimes people do say, ha 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 ha, it's because you don't want the competition. But actually, I'm not afraid of competition. I like the community. Because the more people buy independent perfumes, because the more there are of us, the more it is a thing. But as somebody who has several careers of his own, and I've had many, I just thought it might be an interesting topic to bring up, Arthur.
Yeah.
Do you know anyone who's given up everything to be an actor?
Me? No, I don't. No, I don't. I don't think I do.
I know a couple of people, but
but to give up insinuates... You mean as in they've already got a career elsewhere? And then
they already had a career elsewhere.
I do know of one man. I can't remember his name. He was a headmaster, I think. He gave that up to go and be an actor.
Right. And
became Ian McKellen's understudy in he just would go follow Ian McKellen around being his understudy.
Yeah.
Oh no! Wait, yeah, no. Do know a couple of people who used to be criminal lawyers who then became. I know someone who's a GP.
Did they already have enough in the bank in order to be able to do it without worrying about making a living?
I don't know. I mean, I know one. There's one actor. He's actually quite successful. He was a GP.
Right.
And he still is a GP. So he works at the National Theatre quite a lot. So he'll be working as a GP during the day. I mean, he hasn't given up. This is just by the by.
Right.
And then he'll be working as a GP during the day and then be on stage at the National Theatre at the night.
I know somebody who is also a doctor, works in A&E, and also performs on West End stage, and owns a perfume company.
Oh, wow!
Yeah. It's Nadeem Crow of Rook. And he's just got his perfumes in the front window at Harvey Nicks as well. So, but he's doing all of those things, and he's actually not given up the day job. He's just got 3 things he's really successful at.
Well, why would you give up the day? In order to afford yourself time?
I think because people dream that that's going to be. It's it's the following their dream thing again, which we have covered in the past, which I think is a terrible idea usually. Following your dream.
I think the opposite.
Because lots of people, when I was working for The Guardian, I wasn't a writer, I just used to write sometimes, but I worked organising events, and people say, oh yes, I want to give up my job and become a writer. It's like, do you realise that, like, outside of somewhere like a newspaper or an ad agency where it is somebody's day job, most people who write books or write novels, I think Waterstone's saying that something like 2% of the authors on their shelves actually earn a living from just writing books.
Yeah.
And of all books ever written, probably only 2% ever get published.
Yeah.
So giving up your day job to be a writer or giving up your day job to be a perfumer, I think go in parallel until it's not giving up your day. You actually had no time left in your day job.
That's it.
End up, you just swap sides.
That's it. Yeah. You need to have time to do them all. I mean, the writer thing. I have 2 kids' books out.
Yeah.
In 4 languages.
Yeah.
And I've earned short of £3,000.
Yeah. I mean, what I learned from I learned a lot from writing the perfume book, but what I earned from that is, it took 2 years and a lot of extra other time as well, and it was about a month's wages. So it's less than minimum wage, like way less than minimum wage. Oh goodness, yes, I wouldn't.
So that's it. So is the question? So the question is, do you give up your day job or not?
I think it's a question of when.
It is. That is exactly right.
My dad's best friend John gave up working at the Halifax Building Society in Middlesbrough in the 1960s to be an actor, and he then realised he wasn't that good at it. He was an understudy for the Daleks, and he once got the call. I know, he got a call to turn up to be a Dalek, and the actual Dalek had turned up with his cold and everything, going, how dare you, not going on, I'm going on, as a Dalek, know. So he was an understudy from a Dalek, but most of the time he worked in a fruit shop in Hampstead. And he did a bit of theatre management, and he wanted to be in the theatre, which he sort of was. So yeah, he did that.
Yeah, I mean, I also, though, I do think, you go, well, I do think that you should spend your life doing things that you love doing. If you don't love your day job, and you might be happier working part-time in a coffee shop to make ends meet, but to scrape together a living, and then spend the rest of the time making perfume, and you're happy doing that, then you should absolutely do that.
I think contentment. I think I'd aspire to that. I mean, my dad wanted to play the piano for a living, but he realised that he actually wanted to have a household and some children.
Well, there you go.
And so he worked for the Halifax Building Society, and played the piano extraordinarily well when he got home. Yeah. And then watched us. He had a kind of sense of duty about this, really, that's not, maybe it came with a different generation, but he didn't really much like his job. He didn't hate it. Yeah. But he liked his days off better, and he liked being in retirement. But he was perfectly content to go and do the job. Yeah. And play music at weekends and evenings and with us, and he wanted security. Yeah. More than he wanted, to follow his passion or whatever.
The other thing you're saying about this perfume thing is actually not, what you're saying is, are you aware of how hard this is going to be?
I am sort of saying that.
So and if the person goes, yeah, do you know what, I am aware of how hard it's going to be, then you just go, then
off you go.
Absolutely brilliant, go for it. Sometimes I think that I had the question years ago. I mean, the years ago when acting was just like, I was just, had nothing going on really. I was still working really hard, struggling. I had a word with myself and was like, well, I'd rather be struggling and having no money doing something I love than going and doing something that I don't love and not struggle.
Were you also working for us at the time?
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
So, Yeah.
But I also love this. But I love this. It's not, and it wasn't. It's never been a full-time job.
So, no, exactly. It was never a full-time job. It was always that when you needed some work, we had some for you, which has always worked extraordinarily well for us, I think.
But that's the same thing that I mean about.
We're the coffee. We're your coffee.
You're the
shop.
coffee shop.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Well, you're a lot more than the coffee shop, but.
But it's been extraordinarily interesting watching you, because you went straight from school to acting school.
Yeah.
So that's always been you haven't given up.
I've never had a job to give up. Yeah, I've never had a job to give up.
I think there's a phrase I heard, and it was when I was on a ship going somewhere. I know I was in the Arctic. It's a long story, but they said you only ever step up to a lifeboat. You heard this thing?
No.
If you only ever step off the actual ship that you're on, even if it's in a bit of trouble.
Oh, I get what you mean now.
You never step down. If it's actually still floating, you stay on the bugger.
Yeah.
You only ever step up. So with me, I was thinking that, we talk about, seeing if you can get to the end of the runway before it runs out and the business takes off. You make your runway longer if you stay doing your other job. And the point at which there is just no time left to do your other job, you're stepping up onto your new business.
And there it is.
You're not stepping down onto it.
Yeah,
So,
and I think that's really good advice.
I've been thinking about that.
That's a really, really good metaphor, that is.
So I think, if somebody wants to be a writer or be a perfumer, is that when's the point at which you actually switch sides? Because there isn't anything else I can do. If the perfumery, if just people stop wearing perfume or whatever, the point at which the lockdown happened and all the workshops had to be stopped and refunded and all the income stopped coming in, we had to quickly find some other way of doing that because there wasn't another job sitting there. We go, we'll switch back to that. So I think it depends on what you think of a job, but this definitely, most of the time, this is a job. I don't spend a lot of time creating things. It's probably why I get you in every week, so I can just sit here and
and play. But things. Yeah, and also there is a very big difference between, because I feel like I can't really liken my careers as acting and writing with this, because acting, it costs nothing to write and it also costs nothing to act, whereas it costs quite a lot to become a perfumer because of the price of the materials, the infrastructure that you need, the bottles, everything costs. So actually it isn't quite as easy as just getting on with it, because it incurs a lot of costs.
Yeah, and I spent all of the savings that I've saved up over my whole life. My father, he with the sense of duty, very sensible, made me start saving up for a pension when I was 23.
Mm-hmm.
So I spent a load of it when I was 50 doing this. And
but what else would you have spent it on? You spent it on something fantastic.
I couldn't decide. It was a year in which I was thinking, well, shall I do something different? What is it shall I do? So I wrote the novella that got me started as a perfumer instead of as a writer, and I invented some ways of like knitting thick woolies so that you didn't have to have the heating on quite so much, because and the heating, but that there wasn't a way of turning that into a job. And being freelance isn't the same as setting up a business either.
No, it isn't.
No, people think that, I've been self-employed for years, so I have my own business. And it's like, you've been self-employed, you have a lot of different bosses.
Yeah.
You don't, it's different when there isn't, it's different when you're employing people. And so that's a whole other thing. I mean, it's not giving up your day job to make perfume. It's actually what you're doing is giving up your day job to make a living in a completely different way. That's the question. Do you want to do that? Give up the day job to make perfume if you don't have to make a living from it is one thing. That's lovely. Knock yourself out. Or do it part-time. If you need to actually make a living out of it, and then maybe employ some other people who can help you make, etc., that's a big step. So maybe I don't need to write a book about it at all, because I think we've probably covered it in 10 minutes.
15.
15. Time flies.